The top United Nations court in The Hague has ruled that Israel's settlement policy and use of natural resources in the occupied Palestinian territories violate international law. The 15-judge panel from around the world says Israel allowing and maintaining the presence of settlers in the West Bank and Jerusalem is, quote, contrary to Article 49 of the Fourth Geneva Convention. It also said that the use of natural resources was inconsistent with its obligations under international law as an occupying power. The Palestinians seek the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza Strip that Israel occupied in the 1967 Mideast War for an independent state. Earlier, we were joined by Arsen Ostrovsky, attorney and CEO of the International Legal Forum, for his reaction on the ruling.
Look, my initial reaction was, to be honest, one of not very much surprise at all. I think the outcome was already set in stone at the moment that the court received its advisory opinion, in which Israel was already pronounced guilty before the court even had the opportunity to hand down a decision. But watching it live, I have to say, quite frankly, it beggars belief. It is so absurd. The decision will ultimately, I think, only reward Hamas first and foremost for their actions during the October 7th massacre, and it is yet just another utterly baseless and politically motivated decision of this court that has sought to masquerade itself as some kind of legitimate legal opinion. We'd be speaking for quite some time. One of the main misconceptions, for example, is that the court effectively ruled that Israel is also occupying the Gaza Strip, which Israel most certainly is not, having left Gaza in its entirety in 2005. And as we've seen since, of course, Hamas took control and only less than a year ago initiated the most heinous massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. So it's quite frankly absurd to even suggest that that is the possibility. It is also absurd to suggest that Israel is occupying Jerusalem or any part of Jerusalem, which again the court has done here. Jerusalem is the inalienable and indivisible capital of Israel. And likewise, it is not contrary to the court's opinion, it is not illegal for Israelis to live in the West Bank, or as Jews call it, Judea and Samaria. This is territory to which Jews have had an inalienable connection through millennia, through generations. It is also territory that has never been held by any kind of sovereign Palestinian state either. So it's very difficult for it to be considered, even under the Geneva Conventions, something as is occupied. So there are a lot of certainly misconceptions and a lot of absurdities about this decision, not least of which one of the main ones was the suggestion that Israel ought to provide reparations to the Palestinians over this. So really, I mean, it borders on the absurd. Look, I don't think it'll have any drastic change in terms of countries' opinions of Israel or their positions on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Where it will have, I think, a very clear effect is on removing any incentive for the Palestinians to negotiate. That will go out the door when the Palestinians can say, well, why should we negotiate when the court is almost more pro-Palestinian than the Palestinian Authority? But it will also, I think, only pour more fuel on the fire of anti-Semitism around the world, including in Canada and elsewhere, by portraying Israel as this pariah or in breach of international law, and that will provide people around the world even more warped sort of justification or excuse to commit various acts of violence, harassment, intimidation against Jewish communities around the world.